Hey everybody, welcome back to Play Casket with your hosts, Paraka the Goblin.
And Ghost, your co-host.
This week we're going to talk about game preservation. How to keep ourselves being able to play the games we like even though they're like 23,000 years old.
Episode 40, Preservation Nation.
So basically, we're going to talk about why this was brought up just recently.
So,
and what it means to us.
Because I was watching a Spawn Wave, and he was just talking about like how the deadlines for the games for your stores are going to be closing here soon. So March of next year,
March of next year for Nintendo systems. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So,
and Sony has undisclosed on when they're going to close the PS3.
But for now, I think they're killing card support. So you either need a
PayPal account.
No, they're killing PayPal account too.
Oh, they are?
So you're going to need a gift card or go through another account to purchase it through there. So, because like, I wanted to get Odin Sphere on the Vita, so I had to put money on the PS4 and then log into my Vita, and then the money was in there. So there's like a weird backwards way to do it, but for now, the store is still open, but we'll see when they
finally shut it down.
Yeah, and you can't download anymore. So,
yep.
Damn.
Yep. And oddly enough, this also happens right on the heels of Nintendo shutting down the piracy, and then the Wii shop like just spontaneously combusted for no reason whatsoever. Nobody knows anything.
But I guess we'll see what they say too, because they excluded the question, and then because somebody asked them at a press conference saying, "What are you guys gonna do?" And they said, "Oh, we'll talk about it later." And then eventually they omitted that question out of there, but later on they brought it back saying, "Oh, we'll do something about it." So I guess we'll see what happens later on this year.
Yep. And then on top of that, one of Nintendo's games as a service will be closing in July. Dragalia Lost, and that kind of falls into some of the discussion we're going to be having here too, because games as a service kind of falls under the weird preservation type of thing as well. So basically, what does preservation mean to us as consumers, as us playing the game, as us consuming the games, being ultimate consumers? And I'll just go ahead and start it off. Like, we like old games. Like, we like being able to actually play those games whenever we want to.
AAA is so awful. There isn't anything coming out this year that I'm really excited about.
There was a time that those AAA game companies are as big as what WayForward and Yacht Club are now.
Yeah.
And they were making amazing games.
Yeah.
That's why they're that big. They didn't get big being shitty like this. But they're fucking falling apart, and they're not even like making small, experimental games that they could sell like 10,000 and turn a profit on. They want all of the money or none.
Yeah.
Right? And because of that, they're just pummeling us with like service provisions and like chunked up video game content and stuff like that, which is just like, I want to break down more of it here in a bit, but it's one of the reasons why we all want like old games. They might be even shorter in content, but they're complete.
Yeah.
And you can still enjoy them to a degree.
Brings me back to Elden Ring. We'll talk about that probably in trading places or trading places.
Yep.
But yeah.
So but yes, we have like we just have a lot of games that are like the old tech and stuff that are just starting to fail. Like the PlayStation games are still, PlayStation 2 games are still doing pretty well, but the reason why they're cheaper is because as far as the collectible scene, PlayStation 2s are failing at a rapid rate. A rapid rate. And there's no other like third party distribution company that has like a Retron that plays PS2 games.
Oh, okay.
There's not a single one out there yet. There's places that will read your PS2 game and make an emulator, per se, but it's still an emulator.
Yeah.
There's still functions that don't work. But if somebody like Retron made something like that, you would see a lot of PS2 games start to skyrocket again. But on the opposite of that coin, there's console cartridges of the NES and Super Nintendo and stuff like that, they're now just starting to just flat out crap out.
Yeah. So unless you know soldering and
yeah, and unless you know some of that stuff and like do all that, or maybe be one of the people who are working on the background and stuff, are making those like 30-in-1 cartridges, which are always sketchy. But if some people are doing like legitimate ones, I can see it happening, but they're failing.
Yeah.
And for the most part,
I think remember what was it? A game store we went to. They had reproduction cartridges, didn't they?
yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, there's reproduction cartridges, but people usually try to cram as many games on it as possible, which, for the most part, usually fries old technology.
Yeah.
Like if you have an old Super Nintendo that still runs and you try to cram one of those, they overheat them and stuff, so you'll need something like the Retron and such. But
yeah, or they're like jank as hell too. I remember the reproduction Pokemon cartridges. Everybody's like, "Oh, they're so cool," but it's like, no, just. One of my friends said, like, if you rapidly off and on the thing, it'll just corrupt the entire game. So it's like
because they're just produced fast and quick for easy money.
Yeah. So
like, let's be real here. That when you're paying $10 for that cartridge, the dude's making a bank off of it.
Yeah.
Because he only spent $3, and if he spent $3 on the tech, imagine what you're getting.
Yeah.
You know, like you got to think about that whole context. But like. When we're thinking about this, I'm thinking of it more of a traditional legal way. Like Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, everyone needs to start considering what to do about that, right? And preservation needs to like keep their old games alive. And I honestly think a lot of ports should happen because of that. We talked about it many episodes before when we talked about ports in general. You know, but basically we've already been covering it. Why it's good.
Yeah.
Because we want to play old games. It keeps those games alive. You know?
Also, you got to be careful not to put all your eggs in one basket. Like, when you get an account, because one of my friends almost lost his Xbox account just through using their social media. And, man, he had like a bunch of games on there, and he lost it all. He didn't care about his achievements, but he really wanted his games back. Like, why would you trust one account to hold all his stuff?
Well, on top of that, let's even talk about it this way. If you had physical format games, right, and then you got in a heated debate about politics on Twitter that's tied to your fucking account, and your account gets banned, you can still theoretically play those games.
Yeah.
But if you had digital, good luck.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time before they start punishing you for off-site behavior. Discord says
Blizzard has already done that type of thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a forum post that has been degenerate or whatever, like, let's say you are frustrated with World of Warcraft's next expansion, right? But you do love what they've been doing with, say, Diablo 3, right? So you finally just lost it. Let's say they ruined one of your favorite characters that you've been growing up for 15 years on, right? There's several of my friends that feel that way, right? And you air it out. You just want to vent it out. If they think of it as too much, they can ban you not only from WoW, but from every Battle.net game you have, period, for that post.
Yeah. Battle of the Brands. Also reminds me about Coke and Pepsi. If you show up drinking Coke at Pepsi, or if you show up at Pepsi drinking Coke,
So, one of my previous employments was I used to work for Coca-Cola. And one of the things is, even if you're off the clock, if you are wearing any Coca-Cola brand, it doesn't matter if it's your uniform or otherwise, clear Coca-Cola brand, and you're drinking a Pepsi or anything like that, you can still get fired, even though it might be your day off.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
And so it's stuff like that that's very toxic with that, you know. And so as you were saying, you know, like, it's good to not keep your eggs all in one basket, you know.
Can you imagine, like, you're playing a PlayStation and then you're like, oh, well, we noticed that you're playing a PlayStation Vita, so we're going to kill your Nintendo account. Like,
or like, I see that you've been doing lewd things with a certain character by moving the camera in a certain way, and I think that's pretty objectifying. We're going to have to ban you from all of your games.
Yeah.
Because it's a service. And we're not banning you from games. We're just banning you from our service for 3 weeks, and I hope you understand what's going on. Of course, a lot of people are gonna be like, I guess I gotta behave, or you could be like, no, fuck that, and like actually play an offline game.
Yeah.
You know, and I think keeping old games and stuff like that alive, and the challenges is, as we were already talking about, is games as a service. It like there's that egg has a lot of yolks to it.
Yeah.
But it bleeds into this too. And games as a service is way too selective and way too controlling of what a consumer can do with games. Like, theoretically, and this is how I learned why games as a service or a streaming service was garbage to begin with, was you literally, like, I used to have Pandora, and I only liked one song from Limp Bizkit, but because of Limp Bizkit's let's say questionable actions, and we're not going to get into it, all of their songs are gone. You cannot have them. Like, and that's because the stream service, basically, they had the rights to play them.
Yeah.
But because of what they said, they decide that's not right, and they stopped streaming them. Now, if I had the CD, I could just rip that song and play it. I don't care anything else. But it was an eye opener to me about how much control I don't have when that happens.
Yeah.
The game isn't me owning the characters or the story or whatever. It's owning a physical right to play that game whenever I want.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't control what they upload.
Yeah.
And then you can't control what they take down either, so.
Yeah. And so, like, what's offensive now might not be offensive later. And what's okay now might be offensive later.
Yeah.
What we don't even think is anything innocuous might be offensive in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, but the color purple is a little too rambunctious and treats this as a holistic blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
No more purple. Ban whoever. Ban Waluigi. Ban what. Like, they can easily do something like that, theoretically. And as a service, they can choose that, and you don't actually even get to say anything. Because you already have our service. That's what we're providing you. We don't have to provide you the game. You know, that's like technically, like, that's like saying you go to a restaurant and the waiter doesn't technically have to bring you your meal. You paid for the services of the meal, but you didn't pay them directly to have that direct meal.
Yeah.
Like that's the way it seems, right?
That's why you cook at home and mod all
cook
cool
at home.
stuff.
Grow a farm. Inflation's bad. Like, lean off the Starbucks. You know, so it's stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's not all just, you know, developers and corporations bad. There's some challenges for corporations too. And that's like a lot of red tape, like, especially with like licensed games.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, Super Nintendo, right? The Batman Forever game that was on the Super Nintendo. I had it. I really liked it. And there's no possible way, if all the carts go away and they just sink, there's not even a possible way that WB would even consider bringing that back.
Yeah.
Because there's so much red tape and so much licensing and so much everything that even if they only sold 10,000, they would never make that money back, like, at all. Like, they would have to get George Clooney's sign off on it, and you know George Clooney's gonna be like, I want $16 million for me to sign on this.
Yeah.
And they know they're never gonna do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's never gonna happen. Whereas, like, Disney, it's easier for a cartoon because you don't actually even have to have the voices, right? It's the cartoon character. You own the cartoon character. Like, the Disney's Classics collection that recently came out, they own Jungle Book, they own Aladdin, they own Lion King.
Oh, okay.
They own those characters. They don't own the voices, but they didn't have voices in the game anyway. So there we go. You know, so it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot for them to work on too, which makes a lot of things problematic for just trying to preserve games in a legal, lawful, and consumer-friendly manner. Right? Is there things that you want to talk about that you think could be troubling?
Backwards compatible stores, or at the very least, like,
Yeah, that's a good idea to solve some issues.
or at least like the the reason why I see Steam kind of just being ahead of its curve, because like ahead of the curve and just ahead of the game, is because when you upgrade your PC or you get a brand new PC altogether, you can still log back onto your Steam account and have everything there. The problem with modern consoles right now is because when you get a new console, like you can't go back however many generations you need to get that download again.
And there's a lot of speed bumps to that too. Like, I think at the very, very least, companies should consider and practice at least a backwards compatibility to the previous system.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some exceptions because there's no way the Switch is going to be able to backwards compatible Wii U games.
I know it's a huge ask because you're gonna have to have the Wii and the Wii U parts in together and trying to keep the cost down. I remember when the PS4 was coming out and everybody thought the price was outrageous, and my friend made a really interesting point. Like, I don't need a Blu-ray player, I don't need internet. Can I just get like the disc to play the stupid thing?
Yeah.
But it also comes back to like, that sounds like a PC. Like, so
yeah, and the same thing like. And then on top of that, there's like old consoles. Like, there is like ancient tech to PS3s. There was no way the PS4 was going to pretend to be a PS3.
Yeah.
Like, just the way how archaic and how hard it was to develop for, you know.
Yeah.
And that's just the hard bridge to cross. But I do think companies should develop the system with drastic consideration in mind, because theoretically, if I bought a Switch 2, if a Switch 2 came out next year, and they said your Switch 1 games, right, can be played on this Switch 2, just like your Game Boy games or your Game Boy Advance games were able to play on the game. Your Game Boy games were able to play on Game Boy Advance. Your Game Boy Advance were able to play on the DS, and your DS was able to play on the 3DS, right? All the way through that. If they could do that with the Switch, I will buy that system day one. Yeah. Right? Because I wouldn't have to worry about, I'll wait until the new systems come out. I'll wait for this. I have 1,200 Switch games right now. I have a backlog that could probably outlast the next generation of all the games, period. Yes, I'm aware a lot of them are shitty. Let's go ahead and be honest with that. I am aware that shit are shitty. I have Paw Patrol games. I had to play them. I have not edited them yet because they are a headache. But they will get done. I promise you, I did not suffer that aneurysm for nothing. But for like, they have to make that consideration, right? And especially now with so many companies doing multi-platform games and stuff, that a unique experience is unaffordable. They can't release something on the 3DS that's uniquely experienced on the 3DS that can't be ported elsewhere because just budgets cannot afford it anymore. Yeah. And Iwata said this many years ago, that this was type of crap was going to happen if we keep pushing this way. And sure as shit, that's exactly what's happening. And that's probably why the Switch is absolutely dominating in Japan. Yeah. You know? But yeah, the backwards compatibility, as you said, it would probably be something worth considering, at least moving from here on out.
At the very least, it would solve a lot of, like, the digital, like, they complain about digital piracy. It's like, well, there's your answer, but...
Well, hell, just, even if you had the ability to port stuff, and that actually is a good a good segue for me. Yeah. Like, honestly, make collection library ports. Yeah. Like, Nintendo, if they just made a Nintendo NES collection, Volume 1, and it only consisted of like 4 or 5 games, people would buy that.
Well, it also brings me back to Game of Thrones, because they were checking about, like, they were looking up at the places that has the highest piracy for Game of Thrones, and it's mostly areas that don't even have it. Like, you can't get access to Game of Thrones, so they just pirate it in that area. So it's not like people are willing to pay for this stuff. It's just
Yeah.
accessibility is a huge issue.
If Nintendo literally, like, even if it's just 5 games, I know some people are out there are going to be like, that's too much. It should only be 10 games for the whole it should only be $10 for the whole library of Nintendo.
Yeah, if it was $5,
Like-
you wouldn't even buy it.
No, like, shut up. Like, those type of people wouldn't even pay for it. Let's
Yeah.
be honest. Like, they keep going, well, I believe this is only $5, but they've never wired Nintendo any money after they've pirated it anyway. So,
Yeah.
but for the most part, like, I do think Nintendo releasing like 5 games, 5, like, just say Zelda, Mario, Duck Hunt, Metroid, and Kid Icarus on Volume 1, whatever, right? They do that, sell it for 30, 35, 40 bucks maybe. They could sell it easy, and nothing changed. It's just reformatted for the HD definition TVs. It's in a standard definition box, and you can buy it.
Yeah.
Usually, whatever. Like, and let's just port it over to the next system. Why not? Like, that's why we talked about ports. It would be a good way to do it. And honestly, with the way technology is failing, yeah, maybe they should. Maybe they should really do something to that point where somebody can download it or buy it physically and be able to go on camping and not have to check my internet connection to see if my Nintendo Switch account is up to snuff.
Yeah, that's annoying.
And allow me.
Yeah.
Like, I want to just be able to play it without anybody else's interjection. Just to make sure I'm up to snuff.
Yeah.
I that's all I want. And the same thing with the NSO stuff. That stuff's pretty sketchy too. Like, this is one thing that Nintendo and I do not agree on, and it is stupid. But yeah, no, I would that would be some stuff that they should probably consider. Like Namco doing Pac-Man arcade stuff and all that is a good example of that. There's a Taito Museum. There's a Sega Genesis collection that's out there that has the whole collection.
Which also reminds me about the Game Pass, because once Xbox starts doing it, Sony's gonna want to do it, or at least and then every company is gonna want to branch off and want to do their own. Because I know Square Enix, I know for sure Square Enix is gonna make
Ubisoft's
Square
already
Enix,
looking into it too.
Square Enix Pass. EA's already doing it. Nintendo's doing it. Just looking at Nintendo though, I think it's going to be something we're going to see a lot going forward.
I'm not sure if we're going to see a lot from Nintendo doing it.
Or no, just in general.
In general,
if you see Nintendo do it, the industry is probably going to follow.
Yeah, and I think the problem is I think a lot of consumers right now, a lot of gamers right now, are tired of searching for stuff. They just want to go on, hop on a thing, see that small library, play it. Right? Now, if it became a whole giant library, nobody would probably even touch it because they don't want to go through that whole library to decide what Super Nintendo game they want to play. That's why I think one of the reasons Nintendo has chosen to add so few for over so little. But for the most part, I think that's going to happen quite often. And I think Nintendo and stuff like that, even with the NSO in mind, if Nintendo still did, like, even though you can acquire those 5 games to play for free on the NSO shop, on the service thing, being able to just download it directly or buy it physically allows you to not even have to fish through all the library stuff and filter everything. You can literally just pop that game in and call it a day.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing that's just going to happen is a lot of people doing these games as a service and everybody's branching off. They're going to be adding so much bloat, and then you're going to have to filter through each and every single one.
I know. Oh my god.
Whereas owning a physical copy or owning a digital game that you wanted, like, you don't want Pitfall. You want Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and 3. You don't want Assassin's Creed Odyssey. You don't want Assassin's Creed Ragnarok. You don't want any of the other ones. You just want 1, 2, and 3. But you're going to have to go through all the other Pitfall games, all the other Assassin's Creed games, all the other Prince of Persia games to find your 1, 2, and 3. Do you not think that some people are just not going to want to fight through that? Like, do you not think that people are going to be like, like, hell, there's he's like, we should probably look at how many people watched just what they said recently watched or what your friends watched or whatever on Netflix, because it's always going to be the same repeated crap.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that. Think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, look at like every single person listening to me right now. Look at the main page of your YouTube when you log in, and look at what's suggested, and think about all the ones you would automatically click, and then think about one of the channels you watch occasionally, and wonder whether or not it's worth even searching for right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can pop in the box and go, Delta's in Smash Brothers, blah, 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 and look it up. But if it's not giving it to you right then and there, chances are it's because you don't watch it very often, and you're probably not going to think about it.
Yeah.
And you're not going to sift through everything to just watch that one thing.
And then you're gonna play it for 5 minutes, and you're gonna switch to a different game because
Yeah, or video or whatever. Yeah.
because you have such a huge library to choose from now. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you get a little flustered, like you died because you misstepped on a Mario, you're like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to play this something else. And you're going to do that. That's exactly what you're going to do. And when you have so many of the other games as a service things going to happen, you know, and they get to decide what type of games they have, why even bother? You're gonna put on an eye patch eventually, just like everyone else is going to. And that's why I think a lot of this should be considered and addressed now, and allow people to kind of pick and choose their physical or digital games without having the entire service thrown at their face every single time they want to play.
Indies will save us. PC will
I
save
hope.
us.
Save us, Wayward. Please.
Way forward.
Way forward.
Way forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Yacht Club.
Yeah. And Yacht Club. Yacht Club can help us. Yacht Club's the new Capcom. Quote me on that. Not the current age Capcom. Current age Capcom's garbage. But yeah, that's where I stand on this. That's where I stand on the preservation. I do think there's a lot of legal venues a lot of these companies can go through, and it's stupid. Just genuinely fucking stupid that they're not going through with any of them. They're going with one that is the most tyrannical and the most manipulative, and that is the worst way to do it.
I don't know. We'll see if they crumble under these licensing fees too, because it's also happening in Netflix, because they're having to create a bunch of originals because all the licensing fees are like, you know what? We could actually stand on our own and just make Friends an app where you could watch all our stuff and skip the middleman. Like,
Can't wait for Friends Premium, where you will always get a small little cup of coffee shipped to you one day a month. So stupid. But yeah, no, it's a lot of it's kind of putting pressure on the on the service side.
Yeah.
So we'll see what's going on. Hopefully they don't.
Yeah, and then you'll be playing for Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, HBO Max, and then you'll be paying for Nintendo Online, Sony Online, Xbox Online, Xbox Game Pass, EA Pass, Ubisoft Pass. Like,
Yeah. No. You're gonna be out more money than it's worth, and it's just so stupid. You're like, I have games. No, you don't. Games as a service is just guaranteed that you can play games. You don't have any of them. So, but I'm going to go ahead and feel like we could stop it right there before we start breaking into games as a service as an extra long special. But we're going to go ahead and stop there. And I would like to thank you all for listening to us rant.
thumbs up.
And if you like our
Thumbs
videos,
up. Remind us.
Share us across everything. And we will see you on the other side. Hey everyone. This is Paraka.
And Ghost.
I would like to say thank you for listening to our podcast.
If you like our content, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe and share our video with your friends.
You can also follow and support us on other social media such as Minds and Rumble. Links in the description below.